So one of the things that got me into fantasy and to games was this book right here. This is City of Thieves by Ian Livingstone, part of the Fighting Fantasy Game Books. And I was sick, and my mom took me to get my prescription, and I saw this book when I was a kid, and I picked it up. I'd already enjoyed and loved the Hobbit cartoon, Jason the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans. I was already, kind of in that fantasy stuff that I liked. But this really changed it where, I got involved in it. And this, of course, is one of those, where you jump around. I never really used the dice. I just kind of read and jumped and made decisions. I love the art in this book. So this book right here holds a very special place for me. And it is kind of a solo role-playing game. Well, I've never played a solo role-playing game, and they're becoming much more popular. There's a lot more of them out there. So I did a video on Dark Streets and Darker Secrets, and this is a rules light street and sorcery role-playing game with an old school spirit. You can check out that video. I have the link to it, and I like it. I think it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to play it. And of course, with this this pandemic that's going on, that's not 100% feasible. I do play some games on Roll20, but I've finally decided to maybe look into solo role-playing games. And when I was looking the other day out in ttrpg, I saw this, Dark Stalker, compatible with Dark Streets and Darker Secrets by Parts Per Million. And I said, whoa, this is interesting. Let's take a look at this. So it is solo role-playing for the game, and it's written and developed by Peter Ruden Burgess. And we're going to go through it. This is completely new to me. Like, I've never played one. Even just reading it, this was kind of the first time. Because, while this is... while this is pretty cool, it's very kind of easy. It obviously it has everything already worked out for you and all the fiction and stuff. So here's the table of contents here, and you can see it talks about dice conversions, creating a character, creating a world. And this was something when I read it, I was just kind of, it's not in my wheelhouse, obviously. So it's something it's new to me. So I'm not going to show you everything here. But I'm going to kind of go through a little bit some of the stuff. There's the rest of it there, how to deal with combat, the drama, solo playing tips, which, any tips to find out how to play these games better, I'm all for. So, I'm completely new to it. So mainly here, it's got some cool art in it. Definitely vibes with Dark Streets and Darker Secrets. So the book uses a D20 positive and negative dice, much like D&D 5th edition. And you'll use those whenever making some choices and stuff. So you make a character like you normally would do, but you start off at level 2 and make them a little bit tougher since you're by yourself. And this, they give you an example of this fella Anders here, and kind of comes up with his backstory, and it also shows him like leveling up to level 2. Then it goes into creating the world, and this is where I'm completely got to really pay attention and try to open up my mind to how this works. So he says to, use like a pad of Post-it notes or small index cards. Write this stuff down so it can move around and you can grab it. But right here, open window. Imagine the characters threw open a window or stumbled out of the club, squinting into the dazzling morning light. What is the first thing they see? So what you do is you're going to make 2d100 rolls in the table below and pick the result from the resulting subtable. So what it's going to do is you're going to roll those 2d100s, and then you're going to go and find those tables in here, and you'll have 2 things that will roll up from there. So he says, my 2 rolls gave me strange people have been asking about the characters everywhere, and blackmailed officer has the secrets revealed by criminals. So together this combination says to me that Anders overheard people moving through the club he was at, showing his picture and asking if people know him. This was enough to send Anders scrambling out of the club and into the street. Outside there are electronic billboards flashing up the breaking news about blackmail at the heart of the city police. So, I think that's pretty cool that, he rolled up 2 things, signs of persecution and signs of corruption. And now he's already got something kind of set for the world. So with the many tables that's in the game, Dark Streets and Darker Secrets, you've got a bunch of options. And then here he talks about how he kind of changes. There's already an adventure generator in Dark Streets and Darker Secrets, but he's got a little bit of a different order for them, where he wants the location first and the supporting cast first, and then what's going on, and then the goals. So it says here only roll the first 3: location, supporting cast, and complication. Write them down. And so he rolled, the location is an airport, the supporting cast is a forgotten god, and the complication is an enraged monster. So I think it's neat that this stuff is already starting to get set. And then he goes into example of like how would this relate to the world. I'm going to move my idea of the club to one of these time warp bars at the airport that are open 24/7. Why Anders was here, he cannot remember. The billboard is now above TVs mounted above head. And, obviously it's going to tell you more about, how he created that, the start of the adventure. And then it's going to go into the city. Of course, the Dark City is a big part of Dark Streets and Darker Secrets. There's a big section of it there. And I like this. It says, Dark Streets and Darker Secrets uses scenes that can wrap a single test in all the narrative description of what the character is actually doing. A month in a library could be a single scene, because it's all about scenes. That's how you're going to work the Dark City. And it's going to be kind of like a movie where it moves from, think of George Lucas with his swipes. You're going to move from this to this to this. So a single scene could be an intellect test at the end to see if you learn what if you learn what you're looking for. We're going to use an act of skipping a block of time as the marker for the end of the scene. So he talks about it right there. Fade to black, or director shouts cut. If you were researching a ritual in a lost library, this scene would end just as you settled down to start your research. And the next one would start at the moment of your discovery. So, kind of almost like you could do montages and stuff like that. At the end of a scene is often a short rest as possible. And so that's going to help you with kind of the mechanics of the game. So not only does this scene break move your story on, but it also is a convenient unit of time for playing solo games. You can obviously stop if you want to. You don't always have that, of course, that luxury with playing an actual game. So that's cool. You can just do as much as you want if you just want to play one scene one day and hit it back another time. So then here it's going to tell you about how to set the scene. You're going to roll on all those Dark City tables, and actually you're going to roll. Which table you roll on will be down to your individual scene. Anders is in the airport filled with panicking people. I decided this is the closest to a city location. I already have an idea of what it looks like. This time I chose to roll on city smells and city sounds, getting the French perfume and the roar of the beast. During this scene, a woman is going to run into Anders, scattering everything she is covering over the floor. She smells of French perfume. Anders will hear the beast roar. That is the immediate cause of the panic. So, so you're already kind of setting what's happening in each one of these scenes. So that's pretty helpful. And then there's this table here. So inspirations. All the lists so far have been tied to physical aspects of the world. If you want something less specific, 2 tables are provided. So you roll a D100, and it's a word association, and to try to tie them into the scene. So here's the first table, kind of show you some stuff. Some of these kind of inspirations for your world that you're creating. And then here's the really kind of one of the meat of the game, asking questions. So at the heart of solo play is a simple question. And, there's 2 types of questions, the closed and open questions. Closed questions are pretty much, they're treated with, it says, an attribute check for NPCs. Below 10 is a yes, above 10 is a no. Much like the checks for NPCs. But there's some other variants to them. To add more variety to the answers, we have 3 more variations. Yes and is more than you originally imagined. Yes but is a toned down version that is not so good. So you already kind of have some interesting kind of things to play with. The other end of the scale is the no and answer. With it is the strongest possible negative answer. Not all questions are likely to be yes or no. Sometimes they're much more likely to happen, and others rarely do. To reflect this, answers to questions that you think are likely are rolled with a positive die. So I think that's kind of neat. You have to kind of make some decisions with this, and so it's going to be definitely testing people out when they try to play a solo. It's going to test me out, that's for sure. Questions that are much more likely to be negative are rolled with a negative die. A result of 20 is the no and an exact roll of 10 is the yes and. So, there's ways to actually generate those ands. Any result that is a yes but is equal or below your character's luck attribute is yes but. So I think that's neat that your luck kind of plays into actually kind of what the answer to the question is going to be. And then it talks about open questions. They're harder to answer with a simple dice roll. Luckily, you already have the answer. You're going to use those 2 inspirations words that you rolled up at the top of the scene. The woman in the French perfume crashes into Anders, scattering a briefcase and a handbag over the floor. Anders starts to apologize, but the woman just bursts into tears and runs off, leaving her things all over the floor. He stands up and looks around, wondering what is causing the panic. He tries to make sense of what people are shouting, but it seems to be incoherent stuff about magic and monsters. He can make no sense of it. In your scene, you have more than 2 open question situations. Just roll a third as subsequent answer. You can use them individually or as a pair if they make more sense in your scene. And it tells you here like when you should ask questions. Let the scene suggest answers. You should have some sort of idea of the sort of adventure you want to have. If you're looking for vampiric plots, then that is probably what you will find. So it's kind of like, do I want this to play this? And I think that's neat that, you actually can have the kind of story that you want. If you want political corruption, then you should find it. If you have many prompts on your sticky notes on your desk, you can shuffle them around and put them together. As you finish each scene, anything unused you can carry across to the next scene. Asking too many questions can zero in on a specific fact, but in doing so, you can eliminate many options. What you're looking for is just enough information to help you imagine your scene. And for some reason that's there twice. And so we got locations here. So with a whole city to explore, you're going to get to move from, is it twice? Open question? Yeah, that's weird. Must have botched that. With locations, with a whole city to explore, you're gonna have to move from place to place. Because your first scene or 2 reveals your location, starting location, supporting actors, and complications, there's a very good chance you're going to be moving from that location. When you change locations, you can choose which of the following 3 to roll for. So you're going to choose one of them: adventure goals, adventure antagonists, and adventure rewards. Only 1 roll for each location change. It then falls upon you to how to work this new piece of information into your story. So if you want some sort of adventure reward, you can roll for that. If you need help or something, I guess you can go get that. If you want to have goals for your adventure, actually completing it, and then if you need some sort of antagonist to push back against you, it's there. So here's a section here about combat, and it says don't swamp yourself with too many foes if you're going to fight. You can use the yes or no questions to test the foe's basic tactics. If they're heavily armored and have you outnumbered, they're more likely to press the attack, but the rolled answer may well say something different. It talks about death and defeat, which, it's going to happen. And I like this piece of art here. And then this is a neat thing, body swapping. So let's say you do die, or you want to change characters within your scene, kind of like almost you're making a movie. Think about Pulp Fiction or something like that, how it changes characters. So it says, it can be a fascinating option for you. Think of the woman with the Prince perfume. Was she an innocent fleeing in panic, or was she some part of the shadowy world of dark magic and mysticism? Did she know what was about to happen? So if you want, you can make other characters and switch between them. And then here's a whole section on drama. You can use an intellect test for every criminal gang member or a security officer on a regular cycle, but that isn't a lot of rolling and breaks the flow of the game. The alternate way, which is very neat, is this drama die. Take a d6 and place it either on the 1 face showing if you were in a situation where the tension will increase, or the 6 face showing if you were in a situation where your luck may run out. Each time you do something that may be noticed, pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to advance the die 1 face. The options are like a failed attempt to be quiet, knocking out a guard. So I think this is probably one of the stronger sections in here. When the die is advanced all the way up or down, then you have been discovered, or the impending event takes place. You can use this for villains trying to escape. If the die counts down, they made it out. Each time you were delayed in your pursuit, it counts down the die. And then here's a great section here on solo tips. Don't ask too many questions. Imagine a 20-second rule. If a prompt does not suggest an answer in 20 seconds, ignore it and move on. Just pick something else that makes sense to you. Ask the best questions for your game, not the best questions for your character. Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. You only have to please one person, yourself. If you are having fun, then you're doing it right. So, right there, obviously, and of course the next one, if you're not having fun, stop. This is very much like this book here. If I didn't like what happened to my guy, of course I held my thumb. Everybody did. And you just go back and you try the other option. Or maybe you were just curious about the other option to see what it is, and so you would go back. And this is a lot of what that is here. You're playing this to appease yourself, so change it however it is. If you're having fun, then go for it. But I do think it's going to take a little bit of some moral kind of strength to kind of realize and think narratively and creatively about this story that you're making. And obviously, it's going to go the path that you want. I mean, you want to succeed. So obviously, it uses the attribute test from Dark Streets and Darker Secrets. And asking if you can pick the lock is not a sort of short-circuiting around a low agility score. The sort of game you want to play and enjoy are just as important factors in deciding what an improvisational prompt means as the prompt itself. The adventure so far can only provide the details to rolled answers. And that's where you're going to have to come in, to it. So let's start Stalker. It's not a whole bunch of pages to it. I think it's only like 33 pages. Not very expensive. And he has a thing where if you sign up for his newsletter, he'll give you a 40% off code for his products. And he has made other, again, there it is. He has made other solo games. And I think this was kind of like a little contest that he had for himself to try to make a game with Dark Streets and Darker Secrets. So, yeah, this is kind of my first look at one of these games. It is a game, of course, that I like, so that's obviously already helpful. This is not something that is just by itself new and, will I like it or will I not, based off what the setting is. But, yeah, I think this is something that I'm going to try. I'm going to try to look into some other ones. If you play solo role-playing games, if you have any tips, if you've played something kind of like this, I'd love to know. I mean, I'm truly out of my element here. And when I saw it, I just said, you know what, let me try to tell people about it, because maybe I can get some feedback that'll be helpful for me when I try to play this thing. So, yeah, any help would be, very much appreciated. So I'll have the link to this down below. Like and subscribe, of course, that whole deal. And I appreciate all my new subscribers. I'm almost at 500, so it's very much appreciated. Check out my kind of quick looks for ttrpg, because this is something that it could be gone already once again. So I'm glad I was able to spot it, and because it's difficult. I think that some of the searches and stuff like that, you've really got to spend some time going through them, and I'm glad that I saw this. But yeah, it's something new, something I'm excited about, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try. And I'll let y'all know. I'll probably do a comment once I finally play it down below and tell you what I thought about it or how I was able to do. And this is obviously something that you're going to have to get good at. You're going to have to understand who you are, and the limitations that you're willing to create, or are you going to cheat? How are you going to do this? Do you have the mind to be able to create this all yourself and kind of keep it for yourself, and play it out and see how it goes? So there it is. These things, of course, they go hand in hand. I'd love to have an actual print version of this, just so I could have it alongside Dark Streets and Darker Secrets. That would be great. But thanks for watching, and I look forward to making the next video for you. Later.